much. It's just such a special day for me today. This morning, my son and I both were guest speakers at Gordon, our hometown. But I'm so proud of his service to his country, and I was so proud of his performance today. I want to thank, and I have to say, I don't remember how many years ago it was when I came here, but I wasn't lucky enough to be outside. I got rained out, and we went inside. And every time I would go by here in the past years, I'd say to my wife, I wish we would have been outside. It's so beautiful out there. And when I got here this afternoon, I guess right before lunch, and I saw the flowers and I heard the music and the flags and how beautiful it was, and it just seemed to me like has to be the perfect place to give a Memorial Day address. So let me do the best I can and see what happens. I truly consider it an honor to speak at any Memorial Day service. What a beautiful place to have here, right now, where we are. I hope that when we are finished here today, that everyone will leave this Memorial Day program with a renewed sense of patriotism and a greater sense of gratitude for the sacrifices of the brave men and women who serve this country. I am proud to be an American, but I am doubly proud to be an American veteran. Please allow me to share one veteran's view of the importance of Memorial Day. Let me begin by asking, do you know that over 5,000 men and women have been killed in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan? Do you know that in cemeteries on foreign soil, there are thousands of stone crosses that have no names inscribed on them, and only these words, "Here rests in honored glory, an American soldier known only to God." Looking back at Memorial Day as a child in Gordon, I attended quite a few Memorial Day services, and I really enjoyed them. I loved to watch the parade, listen to the rifles fire, and listen to taps being played. But I never really understood the true meaning of these services until I attended my first Memorial Day service after I returned home from Vietnam. At this service, I paid special attention to the World War II and Korean War veterans, and I could see that we all had something in common. I could tell because I watched their eyes. And just as my eyes were filling with tears, so were theirs. And I knew at that moment that we shared the same bonds, we shared the same experiences and the same thoughts. It doesn't matter if it's World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, or Iraq. We will always carry these memories with us. I only wish I could express these emotions with you in words. I'm not sure I can. But I know it would only take one day in the cities or forests of Europe, one day in a battleship in the Pacific, one day in the jungles of the Philippines, one day in a bomber over Germany, one day in the freezing cold of Korea, one day in the steaming jungles of Vietnam, one day in the mountains of Afghanistan, or one day in the streets of Najaf or Fallujah, for you to understand these emotions and these feelings. It has always been a difficult task to show the meaning and importance of Memorial Day by my words alone. Therefore, through the years, I have continually searched for some real-life events that are examples of the true meaning of Memorial Day. Please allow me to share some of those events with you today. I feel confident that when I share these moments with you, you will certainly feel much the same as I do about the importance and necessity that always have a Memorial Day program like we celebrate here today. The first is a poem I found. It was written by an Army nurse who tells of her being with a dying soldier in Vietnam. It's very short. It goes, "Hello, David. My name is Dusty. I will take your vital signs every 15 minutes. I will write your mom a letter and tell her to give your little sister a kiss. I will be the last person you will see. I will be the last person to hold your hand. I will be the last person who will love you. This scene has been replayed over and over again in all our wars. Many young men and young women have been left to die in the arms of a total stranger. We must honor them forever as we do here today. And finally, in the last line, Dusty asks, who will give me something for my pain? Because a war is never over for those who fought it. Back in 1982, when the Vietnam Wall Memorial was dedicated, my friends and I took many trips to the wall. And on one of the trips, I found this letter written by a mother to her son who was killed in Vietnam. It could have been written by a mother of anyone, any soldier, or in any war. It's very short. It just says, Dear Bill, today is February 13th, 1984. I came to this black wall again to see and touch your name. And as I do, I wonder if anyone ever stops to realize that next to your name on this black wall is your mother's heart. A heart broken 15 years ago today when you lost your life in Vietnam. And when I look at your name, I think of how many times I used to wonder how scared and homesick you must have been in that country called Vietnam. And if and how it might have changed you. For you were the most happy-go-lucky kid in the world. And until the day I die, I will see you as you laughed at me, even when I was very mad at you. And the next thing I know, we were laughing together. They tell me the letters I write to you and leave here at this memorial are waking up others to the fact that there is still much pain left after all these years from the Vietnam War. But I know this, I would rather to have had you for 21 years and all the pain that goes with losing you than to never have had you at all. Love, Mom. Every war is filled with brave men and brave women and brave deeds. And some of these brave men and women are in the audience today. Thinking of the deeds of men and women like this made me more aware of the heroic efforts of all American veterans. It also made me more aware of the bonds formed between men and women in combat. In a very short time, they became like brothers and sisters. They slept together. They ate together. They cried together. They fought together. They dreamed together. They prayed together. And most importantly, they were prepared to die together because they believed in the cause of freedom throughout the world. With these thoughts in mind over the last few years, I wrote some poetry. I want to share one poem with you that I wrote in 1986. It's in memory of three members of my squad. Their names were Furnace Freeman Jr. from New York City, Wayman Lewis Jones from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Stephen Wayne Lucia from Newport Beach, California. They died on March 14th, 1969. They were my friends, and I watched them die. And I promised I would always tell people about them. Twice I've gone to the wall to see the names of men who served with me. In black granite, their names are shown. It's many years since they left home. I can't forget their faces, though, as tears in my eyes begin to flow. And each friend whose name is here, I think of you often through the year. I cannot change what God has done in a faraway country scorched by the sun. But you believed in a cause and followed through, which is what brave men are supposed to do. Since I saw you in combat fall, my prayers and thoughts are with you all. Your lives were too short, lost in war's horror. I will never forget your bravery and honor. I keep thinking that I should have done more to keep you safe in that war. This question remains with me each passing day. If only I could hear what you have to say. My children will hear your names off and on as I sit and look at pictures of Vietnam. How can I forget such friends as you after all that we've been through? I'm one of the lucky ones, I guess they'd say, because I had my homecoming day. But friends, remember, one thing is true. I will always think and talk of you. If God would grant one miracle for me, I would reunite each of you with your family. I'm sure they still shed many tears in spite of all the passing years. Comrades in arms, we shared many things. I pray to God your peace he brings. May you rest in peace is my desire, no more to hear any enemy fire. You know, Memorial Day should be today and always a constant reminder of those who sacrificed their lives for freedom for others. As I look in the audience today and I see our World War II and Korean War and Vietnam veterans, I think of something else. The passing of time may have whitened their hair and bent their backs and slowed their steps. But when I look into their eyes and I talk with them, I see the same love of country and flag, the same loyalty to comrades that they had when they marched off to war 40, 50, and 60 years ago. And now, a new generation of Americans is stepping up to accept their challenge. And as we've seen in Afghanistan and Iraq, they have not shied away from their responsibilities. Rather, they have courageously accepted them. These young Americans have shown their willingness to serve, to protect human dignity, and maintain the concept of freedom throughout the world. So many Americans just take freedom for granted. They forget the sacrifices of the American veterans. We are reminded of the words written at the Korean War Memorial. Freedom is not free. Just think of the lives lost in Afghanistan and Iraq to date. Certainly these lives lost are a reminder about the real cost of freedom. Remember the faces of these brave Americans fighting in these wars. They proved once again the courage and bravery of the American veterans. We need to think about sacrifices of these brave Americans and the real cost of war. We need to think about how in one instant the life of one of our young men or women has changed forever. Please, from this moment forward, promise that each and every day you will stop just for 1 minute to think about and pray for those who sacrifice so much for all of us. In closing, I would like to share another letter with you that I saw on the Memorial Day program in Washington, D.C. in 2007. Parts of the speech, and his first name was Eric. It says, "Dear Eric, I am so sorry we never had the reunion we had planned for you. It would have been so nice. You are gone, and I can't fill the hole of your absence, but I do feel at peace sitting here surrounded by American heroes. I remember your sensitivity and your handsome face. Your Marine brothers came home, and I met them. We laughed and cried together. It is terrible, the grief they keep inside. Eric, please watch over your Marine brothers. They need your help. They will carry this grief with them all the days of their lives. I'm alone here, but this place is so special and beautiful. I can pray my heart out to you, just you, me, and God. Oh, Eric, the guard came to tell me that they're closing the gates now. My sweet child, I must go now, but remember I love you with all my heart, all my soul, and all my being. Love always, Mommy." When I read that letter and hear that letter, it does two things for me. It reminds me of something that we talk about not enough, I don't think, the real cost of war. Most Americans were not really affected by the wars in Iraq or Afghanistan. They were not asked to sacrifice much, if at all, except those who have had a loved one serving in the wars. They sit every day, the families that have a loved one, and they pray that their son or daughter will return home safely. They sit each day and worry that they might get a visit from men in military uniform telling them that something horrible happened. Remember, our service members are still dying in Afghanistan, even though you might not see it in the evening news. Let us pray that those serving our country today will get the welcome home they deserve, and let us pray for their families that they have a loved one serving in harm's way. And for those brave Americans who sacrificed their lives for their country and our freedom. As we do here today, let us always take the time to honor those brave heroes we have left behind. Thank you very much.